Good evening. It's Grant Cameron, and I've got a special guest tonight. I sort of ran into my guest tonight on Open Minds Forum, which, unless you've read it quite a bit, it's not really helpful to go there. It's pretty intense, a blog. But I ran into him there, and we've had some interaction, and so I'd like to bring him on here to talk. It seems like he's got some interesting stuff that we need to talk about, and I'll introduce him to the people that watch my YouTube channel. So here's his bio. We're going to call him Buddy, and we may actually get to find out who we're actually talking to tonight. And he's an experiencer, which is what I say you need to be, that it's only the experiences of the world that are going to tell you what's going on. You can't learn anything by watching videos or touching metal. You need to talk to experiencers. So we have an experiencer. He's the founder of the YouTube channel Alien Protocols. He's one of the leaders of the Advanced Protocols Project, which we're going to talk about, a grassroots people's disclosure effort. He helped develop the Advanced Protocols, which is a way to bring distant CE-5 encounters much closer. He has many top insider friends, from Dr. Jack Sarfati to Dan Smith, which interests me a lot because I've interacted with these people. His goal is to have the visitors allow themselves to be captured on live stream and video footage on multiple cameras and capture some of the best data of the visitors, in hopes that the reality of extraterrestrial life will send shock waves through humanity and help initiate a new age of enlightenment. So welcome, Buddy, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And let's get to it.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate you having me here. For about 6 months now, I've only been known as AP, and I've been wearing this red mask on my channel in order to kind of do the project that I'm doing with more ease. And it's gotten to the point where recently things have gotten heated and exciting and intense. And I think it's a good time for me to remove the mask and, reveal who I am and, just go forward from there. If you don't mind, I could.
Wow, yeah, that's maybe just before you do, maybe just sort of tell us how it's been going with the mask so far with the channel and how it's worked out.
Well, it's been going very well. The project started as just a snowball at the top of a hill, a very immobile snowball. And the premise was to get a group of top scientists together and to get scientific equipment, a very innovative data list for scientific equipment, and to gather videographers. And then, instead of just going to a hotspot and trying to gather scientific data with this equipment and videographers, like has been done many times before, Chris Mellon and the UFO Data Project is attempting to do this, and so is MUFON. We wanted to do something different, and we wanted to bring the power of consciousness to the table. We know as experiencers that consciousness is a crucial aspect of all of this. And so we have connected with hundreds of CE-5 meditators around the world, and we've connected with different groups from CE-5 Academy to ET Let's Talk with Costa, and we're connected now literally with hundreds of CE-5 meditators around the world. And this is the first time, we believe, ever that a global antenna of meditators is going to focus on one location at a time and trying to have the visitors come and visit us. And we believe that we've got better chances than previous groups for numerous reasons. One is we've had success in the past, and two is our motivations. Unlike other groups that have tried to do this, our motivations are for the biosphere. We believe our motivations are the same exact motivations as the visitors, and they can read your consciousness. And I don't think they want to come down and give their data and their information to a private organization that's only going to destroy the environment faster. So we have it started as an idea, and over time we've accumulated the meditators from around the world, and we're fully staffed for our television production side. We've got a bunch of different cameramen and camera persons. And then additionally, and crucially, we have a really cool science team. Chris Cogswell used to be the head researcher and head scientist for MUFON. And he was the new head of research. And he was there less than a year. And he had brought some very innovative plans to bring the integrity back to MUFON that many people feel MUFON has lost over the past 10 to 15 years. But sadly, he had to leave MUFON because of the current stuff I'm sure you know about going on over there. So he left. And he's now with our group and his scientists. And so he is leading our research efforts. And so we have a really neat team. We're fully staffed with the scientists, videographers, and meditators. And we're going to start in about 30 days with our first location.
Okay, and you're an experiencer, correct?
Excuse me?
You're an experiencer, correct?
Yes, I am.
Is that why you went down this road? And maybe you can talk to the audience, because you and I deal with consciousness and the word antenna. So maybe you can sort of explain to people the importance, because a lot of people, as you probably know, aren't on the train yet.
Yeah, it's, well, for me, it started as a child, and it's been a passion and a fire my entire life. For some reason, the visitors love creators. They love creators. And I believe maybe it's because we fight entropy more than other groups. I don't know, but for some reason, they hone in on creators. And some of us who are experiencers who've had contact have a deeper level of contact, and they're called antennas. And these are people who can regularly have visitations and have other unusual experiences, but are real scientific experiences. I recently had a sighting that was a MUFON case 91546 just 3 weeks ago. And you can see that on our YouTube site. It was I was just saying to my love, I was saying, honey, wouldn't it be neat to see a light being or an orb, and look up to the left and poof, a flash of light, and I see a thing moving and flexing, and an energy ball kind of thing, turning flat and flexing, and had a misty, sparkly center to it. So basically, experiencers are people who have a deep connection to this phenomena, and also to consciousness. There's a consciousness aspect that's indisputable with extraterrestrials. And if you look at just the scientific data from the military, you can hear case after case of somehow the visitors knowing what they were thinking. They were either be at the waypoint, the next waypoint where the pilots are supposed to be, or they will know they're going to do something. They're about to lock onto a missile or about to press a button. So it's pretty obvious to us who research and who are experiencers that consciousness is a crucial factor in this.
Okay, and when you're a child, like when do you first know that this is going on, that you're dealing with something?
Well, for me, it was a sighting and an experience, and I saw a craft, like a giant oval iridescent shaped thing, and I've had several experiences through my life, and it's something that you learn not to brag about. If you value people valuing your sanity, it's a topic that the way I kind of described it is, it's like getting beat up. You don't brag about it. You don't go around saying, hey, I was on a UFO the other night. The response isn't quite what you would think. So for me, I kept it under the hat most of my entire life. I didn't publicize it. I didn't jump up and down screaming from rooftops. I just pursued passionately with fire my research and exploration of the topic. So
do you believe you're on a mission?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Are you getting help? Do you think they're helping you, or are they giving you indications or help? Or
unquestionably, there's been, especially lately, tons of synchronicity after synchronicity, statistical improbability after statistical improbability, and the project's just getting pushed forward. It's almost as if it's strangely too easy. because I thought to get this group together of scientists, to get the videographers, to get the innovative equipment list, to get all these things together would be incredibly difficult. But miraculously, the pieces just fall together. You know, we got a whole scientific team dropped on our lap with incredible equipment, and you know, just thing after thing has happened to us. So we definitely feel, you know, blessed in the process.
Okay.
And
yeah, go ahead.
I'm also someone who's explored remote viewing and some of the other gifts that are sometimes associated with experiencers. And in that stuff, I've made a lot of really cool discoveries. And, you know, a lot of people don't know the validity of remote viewing. They've never done the research. They don't know about Stanford Research Institute's years of study over 20 years, and the Defense Department's years of study proving empirically the validity of remote viewing, which is essentially the ability to see distant objects and places that you've never been to before.
And what kind of targets are you doing?
All sorts of everything from disclosure efforts, Joe Firmage's disclosure effort, to crafts and locations across the world. And other people in our group are as well.
How many people in the group do you estimate?
Well, we have about 20 active members who are the active leaders of the group, and but, you know, over 100, you know, people who are following and saying that they're part of the group. Okay,
so you got me sort of sidetracked with Joe Firmage's name. So you're remote viewing Joe Firmage, or have you had interaction? Because he's one of the guys that really, nobody seems to have contact with him. He is one of the most interesting people, I think, around. So what's your contact with him? Is it?
Well, basically on Open Minds, they were having continued discussions of his project as one of the pinnacles of disclosure, that his project was going to be the gateway to disclosure. And they kept referring to it. And so I provided some visual aids. And those kind of got me in a little bit of trouble with Ron and Joe. Apparently Joe called Ron, and Ron called Dan, and Dan called me at like 3 o'clock in the morning, saying, where the heck did you get this? Where the hell did you get these pictures and the blueprints? And, you know, are you a hacker?
Wow.
Are you working with a foreign government or an agency? Are you working with this person or that person? And of course, it's none of those. It's just the, you know, the power of the subconscious.
Wow. But you've got pictures. I mean, you posted pictures of the...
Oh, yeah. I've got a bunch right here I could show you if you like.
Okay, yeah, if you can do that, sure. And you should explain who these characters are, because some people may not know who Ron and Dan, and sort of give a background. These are not just ordinary people. But that's,
sure.
that's his instrument, or they call it the bouncing box, right?
Yes, it's called VERT, V-E-R-T.
Okay.
And this is one of the earliest versions. It's essentially just an electronic gyro, and it's gone through several different stages. This one, you can see it has some wheels inside of wheels, and it had a lot of extra friction with the wheels, rubber wheels touching the other inside wheels. So they kind of innovative and improved it and advanced to this version here. Let me see if I can bring it up. This is the double one.
This is the latest version?
No, the latest version is this one, the 4. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
The latest version is, well, there's 2 latest versions. There's this one.
Okay.
That's the single, and then the one that they want to commercialize and they think could be the here we go. This version here.
Okay.
And
so what are they doing with this thing? What's your impression of what they're doing with this? What's Joe up to?
It was supposed to be a propulsion system, a new way to get to the stars. It's supposed to be, he has a company called InterNASA. And InterNASA is his attempt to bring disclosure and advanced propulsion systems. And it's a very earnest effort. His effort is earnest. He's a computer genius from the internet era, and he made him millions of dollars. And he spent a lot of his own money on this stuff. He has really made a very earnest private effort. He doesn't publicize himself. He puts his money where his mouth is and puts it into the scientific exploration of the topic.
Have you interacted with him?
Not really. No, not directly.
Yeah. Okay.
I have emailed back and forth one time, but he didn't respond. He sent back an email saying, "Oh, let's talk," and then didn't want to after that.
Okay. Do you know if it's connected to his vision that he had, this this whole vision that he had of this being in his room or this person in his room?
I heard about that. I don't know if it's connected to that or not. I think this is separate. That's just part of his fire that propels him in general. But this project he's been at for several years, and the e-gyro now apparently does show some quirks of space-time. It's supposed to bounce and rattles and at times comes off the ground a little bit, but it's not like a true propulsion system. You're not going to be flying to Zeta Reticuli with this thing.
And so he finds out about this by your posting. He goes to Ron Pandolfi, who is the CIA guy.
Yeah,
and then Ron talks to Dan. Dan phones you in the middle of the morning.
Yeah.
And so were they satisfied with what you told them?
I guess so. Dan's a really good guy. He's a really sweet and really smart guy. And he questioned me for a while. He grilled me. He asked him, am I a spy? Am I a hacker? And I'm not a hacker. And I told him the truth, that we just used, hacked the limen. We call the line below the subconscious the limen.
Explain that to people. Yeah.
When you're conscious in your day-to-day life, underneath the surface is your subconscious.
Yeah.
And then we believe, those in our group and others believe, that below that is an area that everyone can access. Every single human can access, and it's called the limen. Different people have different names for it. The monad, the oneness, many different names. And you can tap into that area if you try to empty your conscious mind and listen to your intuition at the deepest, most subtle level. That's the limen. And the limen is an area where there's no scientific way to test. It's kind of almost the definition of limen. It's a location, a place that is untestable. And we believe that that's the same location, this ability that all humans have, this intuition, this remote viewing kind of ability, is the same thing that kind of connects to ufology, to physics, to consciousness, to near-death experiences, to black holes, to everything. And even people like Joe McMoneagle would say the galactic center, the black hole in the center of our galaxy, is the largest event horizon, and inside that is the largest access to the limen, perhaps. And that's why when the angle of the Earth is facing towards the galactic center, that's when remote viewing apparently was the most accurate, and statistically. So for some reason, this limen, this subconscious, connects remote viewing to UFOs, to everything. It's really kind of extraordinary.
Okay, so what's your protocol for accessing this? Have you got a specific protocol that you teach?
Yes, there's different protocols. One is just the remote viewing protocols, which are just standard remote viewing protocols. There's different ones from different groups. Prudence Calabrese has a very standard kind of way. That's how I kind of learned officially. And there's also ways to do it with meditation. And we believe that's how you make contact as an antenna, is you kind of tap into this lineman, you tap into the subconscious, you put out these waves of intent, and you contact the visitor friends. And some groups are able to do this better than others. And our group kind of uses a intense method. It's a week of vegetarianism and a week of meditation, and the day of a special meditation. And it's similar to several other groups out there and groups throughout history, but it's similar to the Rama group, which has had success with kind of similar protocols as we use. And,
Wow.
you know, that's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty
a broad
impressive.
range.
You're going down the same route that I'm going down. Have you been to any Mission Rama groups or interacted with them, or because your protocol is pretty similar to theirs? And do you know, like, they know who they're dealing with? Do you know who you're dealing with? Like when you're getting an answer, or are you just dealing with?
I think we think so. We're dealing with the same kind of portals. They're sparkly mist portals that are low-hanging and lugubrious sparkly mist. And then as they progress in its evolution, a yellow arc kind of appears, a light yellow arc. And then that's when they, the visitors, have actualized both sides of the portal, and they can come through. You cannot go to the portal or through the portal. Humans can't unless they're escorted.
Okay.
Because apparently it's an Einstein-Rosen bridge, and it's kept open through exotic matter, and it's radioactive, and it's bad for humans, and we can only be escorted through.
Wow. Okay, because you know I'm heavily into the portal thing, and I really don't really understand. So explain to me, because this is my biggest interest. Have you had encounters with these portal type events? And
Yeah, I could give you some drawings, and we do have some video, but some of our stuff, we want to wait until we get empirical scientific equipment and multiple types of video cameras at the same time in order to kind of verify the information better. But essentially what happens is you reach out to this group and you request contact.
okay, so you've done this. This is what I'm trying to figure out. You've done this, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and just give me an example of what happens. Give me an example of one time when you did this, and then we're going to get into what Mr. Ron Pandolfi thinks about this.
Okay. Let me see if I can bring up some visual aids here to help. Basically what happens is you do those protocols, your week-long protocols. And
where do you get the protocols from? Did they give it to you? Because the Rama, they were basically instructed the protocols. Do you get it from a source, or from the lineman, or where are you getting it from?
I believe it's from two things. I guess it's from the lineman ultimately, but also just from kind of logic. It just seems like simple logic. It's hard to describe, Grant. It just seems like simple logic. We have a farm in the Hudson Valley, and so much of our protocols we've been able to test on different things, even like deers, and are able to communicate and have deers come up and have very good relationship and friendships with animals based on these same protocols. But essentially the portals kind of look like this when they're on the ground.
That's a drawing, or is that a photo?
That's a drawing.
Okay.
That is a drawing.
And you've seen this? Have you seen this?
Yep.
What's the size, do you estimate?
This one's about 12 feet. I guess that's big enough for just a couple people.
And so you're opening these things up. So how do you open? You're using go through it again. You're going through meditation for a week.
Yeah, this is what they would look like in space. On the ground, you only see half of them.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is actually underground. It's actually a circle. So it looks like an arc. A yellow arc is actually a whole full circle.
Oh, okay.
See that there.
Okay.
But you do the protocols, and the whole time throughout the week, you're saying your intentions, which intentions are for peaceful contact, for peaceful communication, for the biosphere. You're representing the human race, and you continue with those, and it's based in love. You know, it sounds
Okay.
corny and hokey,
Yeah.
but I've lived my life very corny and hokey,
Yeah.
so I'm not afraid of love. And then the final day, it's intensive meditation and also do drawing, visualized drawing of writing the request out. You know, physically writing it. So visit, please visit.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
all different, and then you do the meditation, and then if you're lucky, the mist starts, the sparkly mist starts, and you know it's not fog because it's isolated. It's nowhere else. It's just in one isolated region.
Fascinating.
Um,
Because I'm actually writing a book on this, so I'd like a couple more questions here. So how many times has this happened where you've made this mist appear?
4, well, more the mist more than 4, but 4 ones where on the path to the portal construction. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And what's the color? Do you get a specific, same color every time? Or is it different?
It's white gray. It's a white gray kind of a mist, but inside the mist, in the center of it, kind of just like the sighting 91546 the other day, there is this sparkly little mist. It's hard to describe other than that. In the center of it, you know, you'll have this area. Let's say the mist will gather and start to form an arch almost, you know,
Okay.
and then it'll be a little bit sparkly in the center, and then if things keep progressing, you'll get a slight yellow arc, and I believe that's their other side opening. I think there's 2 sides of it. There's our side and their side, and
That's
our
right.
side first comes with the arrival of the mist, and then when the yellow arc comes, that means their side is initiated of the Rosen Bridge, and then they can come through, and they can escort us through.
Okay.
And I've been wanting to go through, but I too scared. I thought I was well grounded each time, and just got too scared. And
Wow, fascinating stuff. And so
um,
there's a bunch of people that are doing the meditation, and so how long does it last? Like if you don't react, say your fear, does it fade away after a couple of minutes, or how does the event end?
it'll just dissipate. The mist will dissipate. But I'm trying to find the most interesting last time that happened. There was about a 10-foot, 9-foot shadow coming through with a sparkly headband and a sparkly chest. And, you know, to be honest, I just got scared as, you know, I want to curse.
So you're talking like a being is sort of appearing in the mist?
Correct. Yeah. On the other side coming through. And there's also the little beings as well too. So you'll see the last time was the big 9-foot tall shape that had a sparkly a circle on its chest. So it's either a necklace or something. It was a gold ring, and that's sparkling, and then also some sort of something on the head, some sort of headband that's sparkling as well too. And
Oh my goodness, I didn't know this. And
yeah.
then the little beings are with him. Are they in sort of appearing as well?
Yep, they're going to be on the sides, and they are, I think, like the helpers. They control the initiation of the portal, the closing of the portal. I think they're basically sensors. They sense everything that's going on in the area from hundreds of miles away. They could detect any threats, everything. And the tall whites are basically the visitors. They're first generation beings. The smaller ones are second generation beings,
What do you
meaning
mean by that?
second generation beings are beings created by the first generation.
Okay.
Most grays are second generation beings created for space travel and exploration.
And do you know for sure these are tall whites? How do you know they're tall whites?
Well, you could see the features. As first there was black, first there's this blackness that comes from the shadow from behind,
Yeah.
behind the mist, and then as it comes more closer, it kind of pulls back like this, and you can see the facial, the whiteness. I have drawings, and
Oh, I'd love
you
to
want
see
to
that.
draw everything, and
You-
so, and then you just, I'd like to consider myself really strong, and I've prepared myself.
yeah,
I've
I
girdled
understand.
myself and girded myself, and you just get scared shitless. I
I
mean,
understand. I understand. I've talked to people who've had this encounter, so I know what you're talking about. Do you know Doug Alt? He's on your
um,
list. I think you've corresponded with him. Do you know?
yes, I spoke with him just for the first time, like 3 weeks ago. We did a little email back and forth, and I saw his amazing paintings of experiencers.
Yeah, they're
His,
photos. He keeps telling me he's painting, but they're actually just photos.
yeah, it's unbelievable. He's a cheater. He's cheating.
And Maureen, you've interacted with Maureen Seberg.
Yes, yes, and
I'm
she
going to
is a
definitely have these two. And do you two take people that will go through the protocols with you? Because I'd like to have one of them at the site when you guys are doing this kind of stuff. Because
absolutely.
I'm doing a whole book on this, and your stuff is like pretty much on the mark as to what I've heard from other encounters from Mission Rama and this kind of stuff. Fascinating.
Well, it's basically how it works, and um, I've got more assumptions, and I wonder where the assumptions come from. Are they truly my thoughts? I don't know, but it seems like too much of the assumptions just seem. It's hard to describe. I just feel like I've gotten a few downloads different experiences and got a bunch of information, and that all that information just kind of wells up and comes up over time.
Is that during the experience or other times? Like, is there any messages when this this event is happening?
Sometimes you get feelings. I've never heard anything telekinetically. I've never
Yeah.
heard anyone talking, but you get feelings like overwhelming feeling for this or an overwhelming sensation about that. Like we both care about the preciousness of life.
Yeah.
And there's other weird things, like for some reason I feel like I know why they're here, and that they crave data, and information is the most valuable thing in the universe. The most valuable thing in the universe isn't diamonds or golds, it's information and data, and life forms are the most dense form of data and information. So they want these different groups, these different extraterrestrial groups want the information from us, and that's why they're so interested in the biosphere. That's why they're interested in the nuclear weapons, because they don't want us destroying all this precious data, these precious life forms. They consider life, right down to the smallest plankton, to be incredibly sacred and precious. Pound for pound, the rarest thing in the universe isn't diamonds or gold, it's life.
Yeah.
And so that it seems to be the unifying message that we've received, and from my research as well too, of what other people receive. We've never had a dark or a negative experience, or a hostile encounter or anything like that in my entire life. I never have. So
Wow.
that's just
How many people are at one of these events? Like, how many people are? Because the Mission Rama, you'll sometimes have 150, 180 people. So how many people have you got? It'd be a
10.
Yeah.
10 is the base number, a good base number. You need to be in a circle, helps for a bunch of different reasons. We have a farm in the Hudson Valley, which, as you probably know, is a hot spot, and have had interesting encounters there, let's just say.
Does everybody get
so
scared? Is everybody petrified by this thing?
I think so, yeah. Everyone without question, I think. Some.
And have you tried? Are you planning to set up cameras or anything to try to document?
Yes, that's what we do the next time is, in 30 days, we should have, we're gathering the scientific equipment now, and we're continuing to gather meditators. We want all the positive intentions around the world that we can get. Even if you're not a CE-5er, if you're just a meditator and you want this new age of enlightenment to happen for humanity, we would love the power of your consciousness behind us and helping us. And
I'll get you some people to help. I'll guarantee you, I'll get you some people who are, they know what it's all about.
Grant.
Sure. Fascinating. So let's go to you. Have this. Have you interacted with Ron or the princess about the portal? Because that's his basic thing, as you probably know.
Well, I have certain beliefs on Ron and portals and stuff. And I've interacted with the princess. She's extraordinary. She's just a extraordinary human, very wise, and referred me to a doctor that you know very well. And I can't really talk about it because it's my medical history, but really made a big difference for me at a crucial point in my life. And so that was extraordinary. So I'm forever very appreciative to her. But understandably, Ron.
You're talking about she referred you for a medical event. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And but Ron is a different story. Ron, he has a job to do for the nation, and his job is to protect national security. And obviously, the real disclosure isn't the portals that he's been talking about for a while now to distract us, or the stuff he's been talking about on OMF, on Open Minds Forum, for years. The real disclosure that he knows about is these propulsion systems and the material, and the fact that every day craft is coming in from 80,000 feet down to 5 feet above the water, and schooling our militaries and 3-letter agencies. That's what he really knows, and that's the information he's trying to protect. The propulsion systems and the other material, scores and scores and scores of videotapes that the different stovepiped aspects of the government have. So he kind of thought it would be fun to purport this portal thing. I believe that was his angle on that. I think Ron's portal stuff is all, in my opinion, all esoteric BS to keep us off the main trail. But ironically, there really are portals. There really are Einstein-Rosen bridges from tiny ones that help propel these craft.
Okay.
The ones like Dr. Jack Sarfati has brilliantly uncovered mathematically. So that's the real irony, is that although Ron thought portals would be a good distraction from the real technology, the propulsion and power and anti-gravity systems, there really are portals. And that's kind of the humor of the universe. The universe is kind of has a sense of humor. But there really are.
Yeah, but the princess is into this. Is she playing the game too, or is there any portal truth to what her situation?
She's playing the game too, I believe. I don't know whether she can do the esoteric portals like we do. I mean, if we do them, everyone can do them. So I can't say whether or not, but I have a feeling that that's just all cover and story. She's a mom. She's a great mom, as you can tell from the videos and stuff. And, she doesn't have time to oversee a vast portal enterprise and all that stuff, but she can juggle this is a cute story every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are esoteric portals. I mean, they will tell you that anything is a portal. This is a portal. And if you focus and go into your subconscious, of course.
Yeah, that's Dan, though. Dan doesn't really know. He's never seen a portal. He's just sort of a puppet in terms of repeating what everybody else is saying. And what do you think happened in Colorado? What was this whole thing with Colorado then? There was this meeting that was supposed to take place in Colorado.
Well, that's when they all came out there to go view a demonstration of the VERT, of Joe's device. Okay. And to see the scientific data of it. I believe Hal was there and all the colorful characters were there to give it a shot. And, Joe's group was pretty convinced about their metrics, their data that they've gotten from all their scientific equipment. And so that's what that was about, going to go show, the device doing its wobbling box routine.
Yeah.
but it didn't lift up off the ground and carry anybody away, unfortunately.
Interesting.
And no portals were created by it either.
Yeah, that's fascinating. How it just sort of struck me that you're doing the portal thing and he's talking about it, and I think you've tried to sort of put messages through to him on Open Minds. Have you gotten anything back, or is he just sort of ignore you?
Joe?
No, Ron. Like in terms of putting messages where you have sort of answers and stuff. Does he ever react to this, or do you get any sense that he's paying attention to what you're doing? Does he?
Oh, sure. Because I would hear about it through Dan. Dan will say, Dan, I've become very good friends with, and Dan has really enlightened me to a tremendous amount, from eschatology to end time philosophy. And Dan is really, at the door of disclosure. He's at the doorway of disclosure, all the different disclosure efforts. For some reason, people gravitate to Dan, and it's interesting. Dan is a character,
Yeah.
but he's a sweet, loving, guy. Ultimately, I feel bad about how he's been treated for 26 years by Ron. Dragged around as this disclosure mouthpiece, but he loves it too. And he has a great time with it. And I would follow Dan into battle. He's one of those kind of brilliant brilliant madmen, as they say.
What does he think you're dealing with? How does he react to your
He thinks
encounters?
it's very materialistic. It's very much the materialistic path, where, but essentially what we're doing is we want to get scientific data and metrics from different scientific equipment on the visitors, not to, parade around the data and for the to be like, data, yay, data. It's not about the data. It's really about proving that these visitors are here and that we, just like our planet is filled with many wonderful species, so is our universe. And we're hoping that awakening, that if we can be a part of that awakening for society, that I think a shockwave will hit all of society when they really realize that there are visitors and a few different varieties of visitors. And hopefully that shockwave, when they have indisputable more video, they'll get more from To the Stars, they'll get more from us, hopefully, God willing. And cumulatively, at some point, it'll be undeniable. And it'll force society to reflect. And if we have a type of communication with the visitors, not just a distant visit, but a real communication, that even if it's a very basic communication, slowly over time, that in and of itself will send a huge shockwave through society, huge shockwave. And that shockwave will grow and build over time, especially if we have a slow growing relationship. You can tell, you've done the research, that the clock has been ticking and upticking lately, and it's at a crescendo right now. I think June, July, and August, we're going to be getting so much more disclosure information. There's going to be more and more and more sightings, more incredible sightings. And, if we're lucky, we will catch some amazing video, infrared cameras, regular cameras, numerous different scientific equipment. And it's really it's a numbers game. It's about convincing more and more people the reality of the visitors. So although it seems like materialistic effort, it's really for a non-materialistic effort. It's really about enlightenment, ultimately.
Well, what kind of data are you hoping to present to add to this? I mean, is this these portal events, or are you having sighting events, or what's your data entail?
If we have craft that appear, we will be able to get different data from them. Everything from optical spectrometry to black body radiation. We can take different premises and reverse engineer them into tests. So do we think they're time travelers? Well, what kind of tests could we do to detect time travel difference? Black body radiation was hottest at the Big Bang and is slowly getting colder and colder and colder as time passes. And if we get a baseline black body radiation level And then if the visitors appear and their black body radiation is colder, then they could be from the future. But if they are here for a couple seconds and then we get the data, there could be thermal equilibrium, and then we might not be able to get that data. So there's different, scientific premises that we've reverse engineered into tests. And in fact, we've compared our equipment list versus MUFON. That's how I met Chris. I reached out to him while he was still with MUFON to go over their data list and their equipment list and what data points they were searching for with their scientific equipment. And we also did the same, a little espionage on the UFO data project, Chris Mellon's effort. They have some sensor boxes that they've invested in and that gather different stuff like optical spectrometry. And basically what that does is when light bounces off of anything, when it goes through optical spectrometry, you can tell what elements that object is made out of, no matter how far away it is. It can even be a star light years away. And as long as you can capture that light in the optical spectrometry equipment, you can detect the elements that it's made out of.
Okay.
So
do you know if Mellon or if MUFON have gotten any results from their efforts so far?
I don't know. I don't know Mellon's, if they have had success or not with their data. I know different groups have had success. In Hostelin, they had these equipment up for years, and they had very intensive equipment in Hostelin, and they did optical spectrometry, and they found interesting stuff like scandium, rare elements like scandium. So we feel that data like that could be very, you're only limited by your creativity. And we have consulted some great scientists and gotten some really neat ideas. Even people who mentioned ideas like Michio Kaku said, perhaps advanced races are sending their consciousness around the universe in laser light. So we want to detect for laser light, just in case, and record. So there's all sorts of, tests that we've innovated.
Wow, fascinating. Have you had any interaction with Mr. DeLong, or have you bounced your ideas off of any of his people?
We have had no contact with his people. I haven't tried. They just seem too difficult to reach. Would like to, but haven't.
Okay, because he's sort of, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's with the communication thing. So 30 days from now, what's the first event? Like, what are you going to be doing? Because the one I'm interested in sending my people to is if you're going to do one of these things where you try to get one of these events to open, because I've seen they do this in California all the time. I'd sure like to have somebody there.
That's what we're going to do in about 30 days. I'll keep you well apprised, and I'll give you at least a 2 weeks notice of the exact location and time and everything. But there are certain things that person would have to do beforehand. They'd have to be at a certain type of sensibility as well. We could talk about all that stuff, but we only want certain types of people there. Yeah,
we understand that, and we understand there's the protocol with the fasting and with the meditation and stuff, and people have to know you got to go through this stuff. It's not it's a sporting event. It's there's actual protocols to make it more probable.
Yeah,
fascinating stuff. Have you talked to Greer? Because you're using the CE-5 word. Have you interacted with him on this in terms of?
No, I'm someone who really respected Dr. Greer's past work so much, but lately in the past 10 years, the messages that have come out from his mouth have just been so disturbing and fear-mongering, saying that the government has a fake bio-robotic gray aliens and fake UFO fleet, and they're going to be part of this fake alien invasion, and all this fear-mongering and snake oil salesman stuff just really kind of disgusted me. Even though his work for ufology, we should all be forever in debt to his incredible amount of work. But he's become opiated on himself. He is truly, he is so vain, he's jealous of people who envy him.
Well, yeah. Do you think he's being influenced by people on the inside? Because we know he has contact with Ron. Do you think people on the inside are feeding him material to give him this this idea about the government creating aliens and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think someone fed him information and knew how to kind of knock him off of his integrity pony he was on. He was, doing so well for so long, but those few moments really just undermine his integrity so much. The money grubbing stuff is really bad too, I think.
Yeah.
Our group, we don't ask for money.
Yeah.
We want to be a grassroots people's disclosure. People want to donate, they feel, they do, but we don't ask for it. We don't put out any publicity. We've got really cool logos. We don't sell any t-shirts or any of that stuff even. We don't want our data later to be subject to all sorts of, questions.
Yeah, interesting. Well,
I'm just sad that he's doing this stuff now.
do you anticipate, or have you had any sort of interactions with the government? Because if you do start getting data, you can be sure that they're going to want to throw some mud in the water. Have you had any feelings about that?
We think that they would realize the smartest thing to do would be just to let us keep doing what we're doing, because we're giving them data every day on videos. We're releasing videos every day with different aspects of propulsion or aspects of the lineman or remote viewing, or the protocols are advanced protocols for closer contact. And we believe that they would be wise enough to realize, let them be successful. Let us be successful and then try and steal our data.
Okay.
We think they're wise enough to do that, and that's probably what they're doing. We are sure that if we capture data, that they would be interested in it for obvious national security reasons. But we want this data. This is the people's birthright. This isn't any private corporation's right. This data is not, and the visitors are, no one owns them. This is humanity's 100th monkey time right now for disclosure, and nothing can stop it. And I'm sure you feel it in your bones. Other experiencers feel it in their bones. It's happening. And if it's not our group, it's going to be another group. If it's not, so disclosure is going to happen. And yes, people are going to prize the data from the visitors, and the visitors aren't going to want to share the data. But a repercussion of just their presence is going to be the acquisition of some data about them. And they know that, they realize that.
You think that the visitors don't want you to get the data from what you're doing? Well, why would they appear?
We think they do.
Okay.
Because our objectives are for the biosphere. But other groups like NIDS was at Skinwalker Ranch for a long period of time with their scientific equipment, and they kept finding out that the phenomena would avoid them and tricks on them, because as you know, it understands consciousness and would understand what the data would go towards ultimately. And in that project, the data would have been privatized and gone to corporations. And the last thing I think anyone wants to do is create more Mark Zuckerbergs who will destroy the environment faster.
Well, what do you think the government knows? Do you think they have this thing sort of figured out, the technology, or do you think they're
I think they know that there's multiple different races. I think they know there's multiple different ways to do the propulsion systems. There's multiple different power systems. They know the metamaterial performs multiple functions at once, not just anti-gravitation and power, but also computational ability to all these different aspects. But they just can't build it because it requires a certain type of manufacturing that just can't be done yet. It hasn't been designed yet, but can be done in the future.
Well, that's the question. So you don't think they have a space program where they're flying this stuff around and they've got?
I think other governments are as well too. I think there are some anti-gravity systems out there flying, but I don't think it's a super advanced. I think they still have problems with the power. they're still left with their power difficulties. I believe Bob Lazar's story, so they may still have some 115 around, but
that's crafts that they inherited. That's not something they built. So, like, the reason I'm asking is because the last story I heard through indirectly from Ron was that 100 million was spent by Joe Firmage, and they can't get this thing off the ground. So that's why I'm wondering. I mean, do they really have any technology? Joe Firmage, you'd think, would have had some contacts that would have given him some sort of thing to produce anti-gravity. It doesn't seem like he's gotten anything.
No, but just because Joe Firmage doesn't have access doesn't mean the government doesn't and hasn't had access to. A wide variety of different scientists have made conjectures for decades on some very realistic lines of thought about different anti-gravity systems and propulsion systems.
Okay, yeah, like Sarfati, but that's theoretical as compared to, because the quote that I always give people is Jim Semivan, who did the forward to Tom DeLonge's book, the guy who ran the covert ops and runs the program. He said the idea that you can measure this thing is laughable. How do you define something where there does not appear to be any there? This has got to do with consciousness. This has got to do with multidimensionality beyond our present science, where he's sort of indicating that we don't know anything. They're running the show, and we're just sort of observers standing on the sidelines. So that's why I'm sort of wondering your impression as to what you think. They may have inherited some craft, but how much of the technology do they have, and are they going to need your technology? If you pick up, for example, what kind of metals are being used, are they going to be spending time watching that when they already know that kind of stuff? Do they know that kind of stuff?
Here is a picture that was taken over Germany not too long ago.
Okay.
And this is a craft that does not look like it's from many solar systems away.
I would agree.
It looks very man-made. And I could show you tons of pictures like these of craft that appear to be of such low technological level that I doubt that they're interstellar. Very different than, like, the Tic Tacs are very, very different, just shape-wise. Every aspect of it, when you look at it, at the Tic Tac, the shape and everything, you can just, if that thing is flying, it's using very different, very advanced technology. But when you look at other craft, like I've got a few other here, but ones like that, it makes me highly suspicious, and other abilities make us highly suspicious that other countries are also doing it. Here is a craft. I don't know how good you can. Oh, darn it, sorry. I can also send you these pictures, and you can put them in later on as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of craft that I'm sure you've seen them as well too, that have very kind of very physical, clunky kind of shapes, and those I'm highly suspicious are not U.S. government projects or foreign country projects. I'm pretty certain that Russia and China have some very advanced anti-gravity systems. They've institutionalized the search and the exploration of ufology. Other countries like Peru and Argentina, as you know, their governments, and they have colleges that you graduate with ufology degrees. So other countries are taking it more seriously than we are. And I think the US government, as I'm sure you've known from your research, there's so many different stovepipes, all these different groups, the NGO, the NSA, the CIA, everyone, DOD, DIA, everyone is getting information and holding on to it and not sharing completely with each other, like was the problem with 9/11 and the terrorist information. And the same thing is the case now. And I think even people like Chris Mellon has spoken to how badly stovepiped the U.S. Government's anti-gravity and advanced power projects are doing right now. They seem to be very stovepiped and scattered. So,
wow. Okay, so I guess we'll leave it at that. You can give me some contact information that we can put. You've got a YouTube channel. Have you got a website? Give me the address for whatever you have that we can sort of link you up.
Sure. It's Alien Protocols is our YouTube site.
Okay.
And it's really our main platform is YouTube. And we're opening up our webpage now, so I don't want to give out the information until it's officially launched. But we would love help. We would love the power of people's positive consciousness and supporting us and joining us. This is a grassroots people's disclosure. So everything is transparent. All the data we have, we've got lots of data already, a wide variety of data. And we're going to be live streaming. Everything is completely open and transparent. We've got nothing to hide.
Good for you.
So
good for you. I'm very happy to help you out, and wherever we can, I think you're doing good work, and that's what we need to do is keep it transparent. And I think you're also on the aspect of the consciousness and the connection there, which I think a lot of the UFO community is still in the nuts and bolts thing, where they figure that may be the answer. And so I'm glad you're going down this road. And make sure you keep me in touch with when this event's going to take place, where I got some people. We'll talk about these people, whether they fit your profiles. But if I'm in New York, I would definitely will want to come and do this kind of event, because I like to travel around the world, and because these are kind of events that are extremely important when you get these events where you're actually interacting with the intelligence. It's not sort of a light in the sky. It's actual. You've actually done something to get them to interact with you.
Yes, you have to put in place the conditions to make it more likely to have closer contact. And in a future video, we could go through the advanced protocols, and we could explain our philosophy behind that, how to get to closer and closer contact, and things you can do to increase the likelihood of that. Yeah,
that's a good idea. We should maybe just a little like a course on that's exactly what the protocols are, and maybe some other people may want to try to run it in other locations and see, link up with you where it's not just your one location where they're doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, because I do have a lot of people who are into this big time. I mean, people who've been to Shasta with me and have know what you're talking about when you're talking about with the Mission Rama calls them Xendras instead of the portals, but your description is extremely close to what I've heard. So if you can actually get a picture, we've got a few pictures of these Xendras, but if you can actually get one from New York, that would be quite revealing and quite helpful to the other people that are trying to do the same thing, because there's a bunch of people around the world doing this. So
yeah, and they have through history even. We believe in ancient China they were doing the same thing. Okay. So these kind of protocols go back a long way. So be a pleasure to dive into that in a future video or chat anytime.
Beautiful. Okay. Thanks, and we'll you don't have to. Maybe save it for Camelot. You're doing Camelot tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe save it for, because she likes that kind of stuff. I know, I've seen you, so I know who you are, and I can verify if you needed people to verify that you're real and who you are. I will verify that you're legitimate and you're on the right path, and I'm here to support you. So thanks for reaching out and making sure I talk to you. I was most interested in the whole, Pandolfi and Dan Smith thing, but when you got going on these portals opening up, that is the ultimate story to me. So I thank you for doing that, and if I do the radio show, I will definitely have you as one of the guests on the radio show. You're very inspiring.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you very much.
Okay, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Anyone could email as well too if they had any questions or would like to help or had any questions. Whatever we have, it's yours. alienprotocols@gmail.com.